All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, and yeah, holy crap, I kind of forgot that The Walking Dead was going to be back this weekend. I really kind of forgot. I've been anticipating it. I got AMC Plus because I wanted to make sure I was covering the final season. Come back since I know it's ending. And just about dropped the ball on this. And I don't expect a lot of views on these, but I really wanted to make a commitment to seeing this through. Because the show has meant a lot to me over the years. It did mean a lot to me for a good long while. And I've always had a very difficult relationship with the show, not as much as the comics, not until the end. But I'd been off and on. The show was it was in my good graces. It was in the doghouse. It was one of the best shows I'd ever seen for a little while. Like some of the seasons I really elevate, and some of them I'm like, why? And it's just this big swirling emotions, and I've gone up and down. And some people never watched. Some people couldn't get very far. I almost quit too. Some people gave up on it after season 6. Some people have stuck around and they live and die by this show, and they forgive it everything, and it's become just they've made this the show that it's the hill they're gonna die on, whether they can admit the quality of the show or not. If they can never see the bad, they can never see they only see the good. It's all good. You like what you like, but I'm here to give to me, like a balanced view on this. A person who's been through all the highs and lows. And if you look at almost every one of my videos lately, I've got the omnibuses sitting here. Okay, I'm a fan. I I still got my new world's gonna need Rick Grimes poster hanging up right over there. I have my Lucille. I've got a shitload of Funkos from Negan. In fact, I would have had all my Negans out if I knew that I was even going to be recording this. I have the quotable Negan right here. In fact, yeah, let's just put this up here right now as a little bit of a extra thing. So anybody who out there who wants to question my fandom because of my opinions, think again. I'm a big fan, but I don't just forgive things because I like them a lot. You have to be able to be honest. At least I do. And tonight we're talking about the beginning of the end, the real beginning of the end, not the 6 episodes that they gave us in February, which I actually was a fan of. I know some people thought that they really weren't much, but I really dug them, even though I feel like they really made Negan a little bit too sympathetic in his episode. Even though I really wish this is kind of like that get to do because our internet was out back then. I really liked it. They made him a little too sympathetic. I don't know if that's because his wife played his real life wife played Lucille, because they had great chemistry. I just kind of wanted them to show the bit more of the bastard that he really was, that he was in the comics about it. It gives him more chances to redeem himself. That being said, here in season 11, things are not going the way that they did with Negan in the book. Definitely not. We are even taking an even further leap away from the comic. And every time I have to hear one of the producers talk about the comic, I want to just laugh at this point. The show is a shadow of its former self. Not in necessarily a bad way in all things. And it's definitely barely the comic book anymore. Yes, the Commonwealth is in this. Yes, the Commonwealth is in the comic. That's actually more accurate, but we're even getting more changes to the story because of other things, like Michonne not being around right now, and Michonne going after Rick, who we might, who we're gonna see someday again. Whether that's before the end of the actual show or not, well, it remains to be seen. But this is Acheron Part 1. And to be honest with you, I did like quite a bit of this episode. Our little beginning with the sleepy lurking zombies that, yes, as Angela Kang puts it, are a part of the lore of The Walking Dead. Um, so they're getting rations, right? And by the way, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, make sure to hit the like button if you're new. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, notifications, bell, share if you're returning. Welcome back. How you doing? I almost forgot to say any of that because I get into these soliloquies about the things I'm talking about and I almost forget. So blah blah blah. Time to talk about the episode. So they're at some kind of military warehouse, some installation, looking for rations, desperate for food after everything that happened at the end of last season with uh, the freaking whisperers. And so they're going through the roof, and they've got all these pulleys and everything, and it's this big stealth mission to go in. And all I could think was, like, it looks cool. It's very atmospheric. It's very sets up tension. It's an interesting scenario. This would be interesting, a lot more interesting if this was something that happened years ago on the show. Because the first thing that I always keep thinking, and I know people like just say, just you're either in it or you're not, but I still go, man, they're still finding stuff that they just somehow didn't stumble around there. They're still around the Alexandria area. Yes, they're going further and further out, but they've been there for so many years. I just keep finding it hard to believe that they're like, let's just wait on this place over there until we're really desperate. But again, yeah, I know we got it. You're either in for a penny, in for a pound. I still can't turn that part of my brain off. But the other part of this is the stealth mission period. Just to have like a cool looking scene that doesn't really to me make sense. Because I heard in the interview before I turned it off because I couldn't listen anymore, was her saying, they don't know how many of those people are dead, or lurkers. So it's like, but what does it matter? You've got a bunch of really qualified people. Just kick open the fucking doors and take them down. They're not going to hurt the rations. You guys are all working in stealth. They're all laying on the ground. Because you have kind of a coinciding type of story going on later with Negan and Maggie and Daryl's team later, where they find a bunch of people, deadies in a tunnel, and they're just stabbing them, quietly stabbing them. I mean, yeah, I know they're bags, but whatever the fuck. So, even if you don't want to go stealthy, like they could have just gone in there quietly. And again, it would have been fine, right? Except nothing ever goes as planned because then you don't have drama, you don't have tension. And I just for once, man, just for once, I want to see them start a season where they set up a tense situation. We can't anymore, no more seasons after this. That they just pull it off. Why can't you just let them succeed? This would have just been cool if like they'd gotten out. Let's say they'd gotten out. Right? They'd gotten all the pulleys up and one hadn't snapped and Daryl hadn't grabbed it and Daryl, had grabbed it and like the blood came out, right? And it hits the one walker which causes a chain of events where they all get up and they're all just standing there going, let's just wait for them all to stand up and then do something about it. When there's got to be doors to the place. You have guns. I just don't understand the whole stealth part. They were trying to do something cool for no reason. They could have just went in there, killed all the zombies, and gotten the rations anyway. What was with all the fucking James Bond that is not necessary? Again, yeah, it looks cool. It's just... But this was the only part. Right at the beginning. And it's not like I don't like seeing our characters kick ass. It's just... There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a more reasonable way. So, and yeah, at least, yeah, Carol, I saw Daryl throwing his knives, and all I thought was, well, there goes Daryl's knives. his cool ass knives. But thankfully, at least Carol grabbed him on the way up. And if anybody in the comment section can look, they said nothing. They don't talk about what they did. We just see them in the middle of this. So maybe there weren't doors, but if there's an exit, if there's a way into that room, there was a way into that. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna drop it. So they bring back the food. Alexandria is still. This is obviously still really recent to everything that's gone on. They obviously went on this run while things are still being cleaned up. But also they're taking in more people, more communities, we find out. And we find out that some of Maggie's people just kind of show up, which means more bodies on the show of people I don't care about. And we'll touch on that right now. Let's just touch on that right now. Okay, so like, it's great that Daryl and Carol and Maggie and Negan and Eugene and Rosita and King Ezekiel are around. But like, all these other people that they just keep bringing on and they're just walking red shirts at this point. And even characters like Magda and Yumiko, like I like Yumiko, but like Magda feels like they don't really know what to do with. They don't really know what to do with a lot of these characters, in my opinion. And we just keep adding more and more. And seeing as how since most of them, like Carol, dead already in the comics. Father Gabriel, dead. Morgan and Dwight, dead, even if they're on a different show. Daryl, made up. Maggie, Maggie's the only one. And Negan. And yeah, Magda and them showed up late in the comic too. But then the comic kind of ended, and we didn't have all this extra stuff. Again, it sounds like I'm not a fan, but I have to be honest about it, how I feel, and it's just, I'm glad that it's ending. But they get back there and Maggie finds some people that she really is excited to see, people she thought that was dead. They thought she was dead. And we start to see fights over the food. But Gabriel's like, don't worry, don't fight. There's enough food to go around. And I do love this cutaway of him going, no, we only got 1 week. Only got 1 week left of food, sorry. Like, because they're taking in more and more people, they have no backups for food, they have no crops, everything has been torched, the Whisperers took their toll, everything has taken their toll. Alexandria is basically on about to collapse, and they're taking in people just because they're them. And it's, when you get to that kind of dangerous situation, it's going to turn ugly fast. So Alexandria, in my opinion, is on its way out. And what they don't all know is what's gone on with Eugene and them, as they went off to find this other community. So Maggie comes up with the idea to go back to where she was, a place called Meridian. And the rest of this episode I really do like. She describes what happened. We get to hear about that. We remember the fight that Daryl and Maggie had with that guy that was like a pretty tough hombre who was who killed him, allowed himself basically to die rather than be taken in. And they're going to go back and take the place over from them again. And again, it's all the same stuff we've seen before. They come at night. If you see them, it's too late. We're rehashing the same stuff, but again, in for a penny, in for a pound. I don't mind as long as they do it well. But take the place back and see what supplies they have, and maybe have new places to go. Like, buy them time to rebuild their communities. I get it. So they got to go through DC to get there. Negan's the guide for some reason. And this just kind of sets up more of the conflict that we get with Maggie and Negan, where, look, the Maggie Negan thing, they had an opportunity to do it right. They had an opportunity to do the comic way of ending things with that situation, but they chose not to. And it was one of the best comics that they ever did, and they just ignored it to create more tension and drama and more dragged out stuff. But that's what TV is. That's what they do for TV. You got to stretch it out, long form, instead of cutting back on episodes, things like that. You've got two actors on there that, are volatile with each other, and they're just going to see how long they can play it out. And we get some pretty close stuff with them in this episode because they're not listening to him. Daryl's still treating him like he just got out of the jail when it's like, you know, the I know that they can. It's the term of don't ever forget. I what happened. You couldn't. You shouldn't. But the guy is valuable. He is clearly not. He's helped you in all sorts of ways. He is not turned on you. He knows the score. He also just doesn't want to die. And when he's trying to tell them that the idea that they have to go into the tunnels to get to this place isn't a good idea, them just kind of ignoring him because he's Negan, that's old hat already. It's old hat. And it's stupid. They should be listening to the guy. All right? I don't care. And he's not trying to run shit. Like, why would they even throw that line out there? Why would they even throw that line out there? The best part of this episode is Eugene, Ezekiel, Yumiko, and Princess at the Commonwealth. Because for non-comic readers, this is kind of an interesting new territory. Finding a settlement of people that seem to know what they're doing, seem to be embracing the old ways in slightly new ways, and making it, they're trying to make them look a little fascist. But it's because they don't know. So spoiler alert for the comics, all right? So they get pulled in to have their little tests and questions, and I thought this was really funny. Them getting their stories straight and everything like that. You got people sitting at a table with suits and ties on, and it's so bizarre and out of place. And they're running through these tests and asking them all these questions. And really, that's what it is, all right? It's basically like, what do you bring to the Commonwealth kind of test? What is your worth? What did you do? What was your score? They're trying to get a lay of these people. It's not just some psychological test like Alexandria had, or the test that Rick and Michonne would give people to whether or not they could enter the community. This is about like figuring out them at a base level, and also like figuring out their worth and where they can be placed if they come into the community. But from somebody who doesn't know, from somebody coming outside, yeah, this looks really, really strange and really, really weird, and might even seem a little fascist because you guys got stormtroopers walking around, pumping it, pumpkin-colored spacesuits. I really loved that line. Um, but Eugene's got it called right. He's like, "This is a test. This is just a test, man." And but they don't buy it yet. And I see at least this makes sense of them freaking out and wanting to run. Also really funny is Princess paying attention to everything that's been going on around them with the guards, knowing all their schedules. You know, it was pretty solid character work. I like that where they're going with Princess. This is where I like when they differ a little bit. Like Princess kind of stayed a little bit. She's nuts, but she's to me, she's been more valuable on the show than in the comics. This is where the comic did it right, kind of like with Carol, right? The comic book Carol was just sad and depressing, and show Carol is just a goddamn force of nature badass. So Princess uses her, they actually listen to what she says about how the guards come and go and how it works, and we don't see it, but they take a couple of guards out and not kill them, but they take their uniforms to escape. And I like that because they see, they don't know what reprocessing means. Does it mean they kill you? Does it mean they throw you out? Whatever. So they're desperate. They want to get out of there. They're also afraid because they were asking about what community, where are they from, all this stuff, and they're ready to go. They've seen enough. They didn't tell them anything about their past or whatever. But before they can, Yumiko sees the missing people board. Now in the comics, this is Michonne who sees this and sees her daughter. Or well, Michonne is the one that's missing, I think, on the board in the comic. And this is where Michonne would be built up to find one of her missing kids that she thought was dead all these years. But since Michonne is already off the show, running around looking for Rick, well, this is where they're going to switch up those characters and give Yumiko basically that storyline, it looks like. And that's fine. That's fine. Would it have been nice to, like, it'd all be nice if they just stuck to the comics, but they don't. So you either got to get over it or you don't. I'm choosing to say whatever. Um, and back in the tunnels, we get more Negan Maggie stuff. Where Negan, I like that Negan stands up for himself. As much as you might hate him, you have every right to not like this guy. He killed Abraham, killed Glenn, killed a bunch of people. But so did Rick and everybody else, and it's all a matter of perspective. And if we've been following around Negan's group, and Rick was the one who was, let's say Negan was the one we were following this whole time, right? And the saviors, right? And they were doing what they had to do for their people, and Rick was the one like that tried to do things. Like it's all perspective. And so once you start following those characters around, you care when people like Glenn die, and and it's good to care about these things. But Negan realizing that he's been brought there to die, like they don't need him. Why am I here? You guys can find out your way to DC. All you need is to be able to read a map. I was brought here to die, and where he kind of full Negan and goes too far is when he says like, I'm not gonna die on my knees like a dog like Glenn. And holy shit, that had my mouth go, oh man, I can't believe they actually wrote that line. Daryl punches him, rightfully so. He had me up until that moment of saying that. um, because yeah, he's like, no, I'm not gonna let you do this. Like, you guys all don't know, dude. None of you knew that this was what she was gonna do. She was gonna make sure that I didn't come back from this. And he knows the score. And even Father Gabriel, who's like, you're paranoid, he's like, yeah, I am, but I'm also right. And so, as right as he is, later when they find the bodies, and then the real creepy part is the sound coming from the tunnels and the air getting pushed through. That I was trying to imagine myself in that situation. I'll tell you what, I heard that noise, I'm either running out or I'm running forward as fast as possible. Depends on how far back it would take to get to the where we came in. It would be a freaky situation. But when, of course, zombies come down the tunnel, because there has to be zombies in the tunnel, because it's The Walking Dead, and you put them in a situation like this, and they're not going to just not find zombies. So once they attack and Dog runs off, Daryl goes after Dog, leaving Maggie kind of defenseless against the elements that are there to kill them. And she gets trapped, and Negan is standing over her. And I thought, oh, well, yeah, he pauses a little bit too long, I thought. And I'm like, yeah, but he's still going to grab her. They have to give you that kind of tension so that, she can still wait long enough so that she can be pissed off that he waited long enough to grab her. But he doesn't do that. He turns and walks away. And that's the end of the episode. And I was like, wow. I even wrote down right here. It says, Negan saves Maggie. Right at the very last few words. And then I had to write, nope. At the very end. So, I mean, look, as many problems as I have with it, and I still do, every single episode, there's always going to be something I have a problem with it. Overall, I was entertained. Overall, I thought that it moved pretty fast. And I'm glad that we jumped storylines so that we're moving the Commonwealth story along. And we're moving the rest of the plot along, trying to find out whether or not, they need another threat, right? There always has to be another threat. So going after Meridian to find these guys that took the place over is just more stuff for the people who love this show, even if it is still going over same territory. So overall, yeah, like I said, it's pretty good. And I am looking forward to watching the rest of this. Now, I just hope that in the next, I think they're splitting it up into 3. So there's going to be, like, this show's going to last through, like, all of this year and I think all of next year just about. So they're parceling it out so that you don't overdose on Walking Dead. But I hope that they can start figuring out, like, I hope that these Rick movies, at least one of them comes out before the end of the series, but we'll see. So anyway, If you like this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications. It's late, and normally I'd probably bust out the neuralizer and give you guys a better memory. But if you didn't like what I had to say, just hit the dislike button. Don't matter to me. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next week with episode 2 of season 11 of The Walking Dead.